Hello, everyone. It's Bill Dunnington. Welcome to today's discussion on value acceleration. Thanks for coming. I am a management consultant that works with owners of established small and medium-sized businesses to build and accelerate value. There are lots of reasons for doing that, but often it's to enable or facilitate a transition on the client's terms and timing toward a secure and sustainable future. So our agenda today is this: welcome, and what is value acceleration about? What's exit planning about? What's the connection? Why do them? What's at stake? And then an outline of a do-it-yourself how-to approach, so you can get a feel for what that might look like and a sense of the resources to start and succeed. Who is this for? Lots of people can take advantage of this, but I'm thinking primarily this is for owners, business owners who want to increase the value of their firms and build transferable businesses. So you need to be an established business, not a startup, with basic systems and processes in place and of sufficient size to have most of the normal business functions stood up and functioning. What one really quite good indicator, for example, is if the HR function is up and running and distinct from or outside finance, as a bit of a thumbnail indicator, and then some base level of revenue stream. And if you've met these conditions, I think this might well be for you. Okay, here we go. What's value acceleration about? Well, it's about increasing what your business is worth, not just inventories or buildings. It's the whole enterprise we're talking about, risk and all. So from a buyer's point of view, or potential buyer's point of view, value is about what you get for what you pay, upside and downside. The financial lens takes up EBITDA, earnings before income, depreciation, and tax, times its multiple, which is basically a proxy for likely future cash flows with the risks factored in. And from the point of view of an owner, the more you can show evidence of predictable and systematic gains in EBITDA times your multiple over time, that will more credibly increase the value of your business, which is what the goal is here. So, as a starting point, how do great owners actually make their businesses worth more? Well, virtually everybody overestimates their company's worth. It's normal. So we find that people who are in the know go after and get an actionable valuation of some kind, some way to grow and optimize value well before transition. Our tools help people discover the value gap between current and the potential value. How much better could you be? How much might you be leaving on the table? Because that gives you a sense of scope and scale, and depending on timing, urgency. Our tools rank key improvements by ROI and thus their impact on valuation, which really drives out clear priorities. So it takes misalignment off the table. It focuses on the highest leverage opportunities, which is important. If you have all the time in the world and all the money in the world, maybe that doesn't matter, but I don't know too many business owners who are really in that situation. And I think the key to this whole thing is making a shift from episodic kinds of approaches to systematic kinds of approaches for value building, routinely working on the business and not just in the business. So by way of illustration, hypothetically, have a look at Awesome Sauce Inc. versus Bitter Berries, and just compare and contrast what the differences are between an Awesome Sauce, a fully up and running management team with distributed decision making, diversity in the customer base, up-to-date systems and processes, and cross-trained people, legal protection for intellectual property, and then good actionable metrics that are daily and monthly, with a clean audit and information to run the business that you count on, as compared with the situation where you're making all the decisions as the owner. Most of your revenue comes from one customer. You have old systems, not much is written down. There's no way to transfer learning or ownership. There's no legal protection. Financial systems are behind the times. You can see there's just quite a contrast. So if you're looking for a quick punch list, this isn't a bad one. One question is why worry about value now. You might be running your business happily day to day. And as you obviously know, along with cash flow and capital and customers and today's urgencies, the owner's attention shifts as business evolves over time. Here's a possible flow from product to distribution. Over time, you spend more time on talent, culture, and eventually, sooner or later, you get to transition. Now, the point here is that building value is it's like saving money. The sooner you start and the better you are at it, they both make a huge difference in the end game. And truth is that preparing a business for transition takes time. It's not instant pudding. It's one rule of thumb that I think maybe even understates things is 1 year of preparation for every decade of operation. And there truly is a silver tsunami of people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s who really are very unprepared for an inevitable transition, and that's a huge problem. I love talking to owners, but here are the kinds of things I hear uncomfortably often. Things like someone saying, well, I got started, but the reason I got started is other people I know were saying things like, hey, I'm 60, I don't want to stop working, but I'm not prepared, nor is my company. Or more desperately, I'm screwed, I'm going to run out of time. Or the dilemma and the quandary of I'm busy, I'm too busy to improve, and I can't clone myself. I know I need to replace myself on the organization chart, so to speak, but I can't figure out how to get ahead of the curve. Sometimes people just delay doing this because they love what they're doing. They hate thinking about leaving or transitioning. And they sort of whimsically say, well, I'll just sell it when I'm ready, and I hope there's a buyer. Good luck. People often tell me that they observe people who've planned this well and wish themselves that they had started sooner. Like many people who, generally speaking, observe people's retirements going well and wish they'd started sooner to plan theirs also. And last but not least, there's a fair amount of information to learn about various options, ESOPs, employee stock ownership plans being one, but they aren't all simple. And in the case of ESOPs particularly, they're terrific, but there's a lot to learn. And one of the big questions is often, where does the money really come from? So it's a lot to learn, and there's a lot of merit in starting. I find that the exit reality is not pretty. The realities really make the case for planning. Most people's wealth is tied up in their business. Virtually everybody overestimates where their business is worth. Most people have to get formal valuations to inform tax decisions year to year, but what you get is a number, 2 million, 4 million, 8 million, whatever it is, but it's not very actionable. You don't know what specifically to do to influence it. That doesn't help you much. Virtually everybody waits too long to prepare. And then these last 3 bullets have some facts from studies done by the Exit Planning Institute. Here's a frightening one, at least to me. Only 2 of 10 businesses that come to market actually end up selling, which leaves a whole lot of value lost or on the table or just not actionable in any way. So jobs get lost and communities get devastated and so on and so forth. Family businesses are not a slam dunk. Some of them work, but actually the statistics are a little scary. Only 30% work in the first generation, 12% the third, and the success rate falls from there. And then often, of those that finally sell their business, a great many, 75, 80%, come to some sense of profound regret within a year of exiting, for reasons we'll look at shortly. So the economic case for doing value acceleration, making your company more valuable, and combining it with exit planning is that the economics are very compelling. Here are 2 examples with a lot of underlying assumptions, but for a business in the first case valued at 8.5 million, a good exit plan may be 10.6 in pre-tax at transition versus 2.1, with a very substantial difference in what you would have to have in terms of pre-tax income. For a owner-operated business, maybe with a value of 300,000, doing a good job of figuring out how to exit and monetizing the business asset may mean the difference between having $400,000 and $100,000 to work with. So the economics are really very pivotal. It is essential to know what your current business value is, and in addition, how much it could be worth. So how much gold is in the mine, so to speak, that might be accessed with some careful value acceleration. Value acceleration also opens up the exit options. It really, and there are lots of them. Lots of people think that the only real option is to sell the business to the for the highest price, and that's not always the case. In fact, it's almost, well, I won't say never, but it's rarely the case, because you have to get smart about what works for your situation. And you know, what you don't know or don't prepare for can truly cost you a fortune. Here's a schematic done by Pinnacle Equity that I think frames up things nicely. On the y-axis is financial readiness. You know, whether you're not ready, can't do it now financially, or quite ready. Your money in the bank, the business is profitable, it's highly valued, et cetera, et cetera. And then on the x-axis, how involved you as owner want to be. Some people want to keep working or stay involved in some way, shape, or form, and others get to a point where they just as soon get out. And so this 2x2 frames up the different kinds of options that are available, noting that building value helps you in almost all cases. The more it's worth to start on the front end, the more you're likely to get for it. So putting these ideas together, value acceleration and exit planning really help you make your exit on your terms and time frame. There are three pieces. One is financial, which is the combination of your own personal financial readiness plus the company's value. And you know, this is the extent to which you can fund the future. Another dimension is how owner independent and organizationally ready is your company, so that you and the business can let each other go. And last but not least is, do you have a sense of what you're going to do next? You know, at least at a high level, you know, having people to love, worthy things to do, and a life to look forward to makes for a future. So it's important to take enough time and take the right steps to succeed at this. The assessment is, you know, what's the business worth? What have I got financially? Run up against goals, values, and options that are made possible by the finances. And then preparation. What does the value building or acceleration plan look like for the business? And what does the exit planning pathway look like in terms of options and impacts? And then on to transition, which is in effect the choice of options and the execution of that choice. And once again, the rule of thumb is at least a year preparation for every decade of operation. So here's a punch list of what's really important to get right to pull this off. You have to start. You have to take the time and the steps to lay out and start with laying out your overall goals. You need to do a business valuation and a personal finances reality check to understand what's possible, what area of freedom you have. It's useful, very useful for lots of reasons, to get your people engaged in building value, not just you. There's a mental shift at some point where, if your business has been a job, if your worldview and mindset has been that your business is doing something you love to do as a job, over time you need to look at it as it's an investment, and that's a subtle but significant shift. Another dimension is how transferable is your business. You have to learn and assess the exit options, as we've talked about, and oftentimes you have to get the right advisors involved. We'll talk about that later. It's very useful to have a good detailed plan and work it, and it's very smart to build business value at every opportunity. All right, well, if that's the punch list, where do you start? We think three questions help get you going in the right direction. Do you know the actual value of your business? Have you built a business that has transferable value and owner independence? In other words, have you built the company that you can actually hand off to someone or some people? And what can you do today, in today's world, that also ensures your business will have value or grow value in the future? So it's that constant bifocal thing. This doesn't happen by chance. So we think the key shift is from episodic to systematic value building. Put a process in place to build value in daily work. We have come to believe that do-it-yourself approaches work extremely well for successful entrepreneurs. You know your business best. We offer an online package of ideas and tools and resources that work. And I am perpetually amazed at what people achieve. Most clients raise value 20% annually, which is very substantial. The record so far in a single year is 88%. Designed and packaged design thinking and various kinds of improvement technologies and approaches, and blended that with 30 years experience and sort of packaged that up in an online system that you can grab and adapt. And fundamentally, it's a plan, deploy, review kind of approach, which looks like any old good management system. Last but not least, you can't do this alone, or should you? Get your workforce involved in working on the business, not just in the business. Their involvement and initiative with direction, meaning your plan, and tools, meaning our website, is a huge accelerator. We find that you'll have the best success carving your plan into 90-day sprints aimed at a handful of very sharply defined high-impact initiatives. We always hear from clients that the ensuing results and learning strengthen a company's capacity to operate, improve, and change, which is in itself a hugely valuable capacity. Think of this as doing interval training for your business. It's a series of sprints. It's not a marathon, and there's periods of rest and recovery and learning and reflection, and then another 90-day cycle. In so doing, we've also found people are very likely to develop and see evidence of people's readiness to play key parts in their business succession plan. You watch what people do, how well they succeed, how fast they learn, how well they engage with others, and you get a pretty good feel for what kinds of parts they might realistically be able to play in your future transition process. And I would include your children in this. So here's an approach we propose. Start with an initial evaluation. Use our discovery tool. It's on our website. 15-minute online survey. You'll learn, what would your business likely sell for today? How much more could it be worth relative to industry cohorts and size? And what specific actions would drive gains? You get from this fairly accurate, very actionable, and secure estimate very quickly. An actual value of just under $500 for something under just $150. Here, for example, is the illustrative first page of such a discovery report. You see potential business value 2.875 and a value gap. So the value gap is pretty substantial in this case, and this is not at all unusual. What we're looking at here is a $2.8 million business today that could be worth 3.8. So nothing like leaving $1 million on the table. The second page of this report gives you a list of the key items that are driving or causing or underpinning that value gap. Look at the round pie chart and the area in the gray: sales and marketing, recurring revenue, product differentiation, and other. Those constitute the lion's share of the value gap. And in the software we have, each has components which help you figure out and pinpoint value acceleration initiatives. And in the extended and deep dive version, this value gap provides you with a list of ROI ranked improvements with bang for the buck ratings across a series of value drivers. These value drivers have both EBITDA and risk items, as we were talking about before. There's two bunches, external and internal. The external ones on the left there are really about sources of relative competitive advantage in terms of your position in the market, your product market fit, your capacity to access customers, and so on and so forth. The internal version is, of course, how well your company has its capacities suited to your external challenges and opportunities. So, how clearly can you explain what your company does? What do the financials look like? What are the sources of customer sat and dissat? And then functional strengths in areas like sales and marketing, operations, legal, HR, senior management, and innovation. I might add that often I see HR and senior management as hugely consequential opportunities. Not always, but often. It's just really important to get the right people in the jobs. And often in the HR world, I see people who, for whatever reason, have thought of HR as kind of a competitive millstone, when in fact, in the best companies, it's a competitive asset. So what do you do? Well, our approach suggests that you take one value driver called innovation and you aim it at your highest impact value drivers. And then you enroll and connect and empower the right people to take action. The charter for them, the invitation, is results and learning. So in our example, you might come to a point where you say, well, let's find out what it takes to get 3 recurring revenue contracts in New England, new prospects in the next 90 days, no price cutting. Let's draft an approach and talk about it Monday at 10. So you get people focused and moving on the high impact value gap drivers, recurring revenue, sales and marketing, large potential market, and brand in this case. That basically is a sales and marketing innovation experiment. And it's well framed and informed by the evaluation you've done. And it also invites you to connect it to the inside, where a second initiative aimed at operations, which is another high impact value driver in this case, is about let's find out what it takes to get ready for 3 new contracts that might land on us in the next 90 days. How in the world would we take that on given our existing schedule, which is its own capacity stretch and challenge. So you don't put your business at risk by doing one thing and not doing the other. Finally, and not inconsequentially, you'll recall from Bitter Berries that risk reduction is itself a value builder. Here's the list from Bitter Berries. And if you're doing the initiatives we just talked about, then you're getting at decisions made or approved by owner, and you're getting at revenue from a single customer by working on those. But here are 3 items: no documentation, process, and systems, no legal protection over intellectual property, and poor financial reporting. Those are 3 possible 90-day cycle reduction initiatives, risk reduction initiatives that are perfectly suited to this kind of work. So the point is you can be looking at EBITDA things and risk reduction things in this approach. Now, it's our experiences just proves time and time again that it's amazing what people can do. You give people time and tools and opportunity, and it's just an invitation to make things better. I hasten to add that even the best of businesses can improve. Every business can improve. And you may have noticed in the course of your career that in response to crises, people, in fact, can step up, and quite a lot in crises, just to get through and do what's needed to get by. Our guidebooks take the key elements, the piece parts in those, and bring them into the forefront, but without the crisis, of course. It's just essential to focus on the highest impact value drivers. There is no right way to do the wrong things. It's also important to carve off and carry out things in short spurt cycles that get you results and learning, because that's what generates the momentum, expertise, and the capacity to accelerate value. And I might add, it leverages all other investments. So here's what you get: a tangible increase in the value of the company that also helps optimize transition and exit plans. Value up, risk down, owner independence up, capacity up. In this package, you get online actionable evaluation in minutes, not months. Frankly, less than half the cost of what you would get from a normal, full, formal financial valuation. Very high leverage ROI ranked improvement priorities. The e-resource management guide to do-it-yourself value acceleration is a turnkey guide. So you pick it up, adapt it to yourself and your own business, which is pretty easily done, we find, and do it in 90-day cycles. So you've carved off focused, time-limited achievement projects. And this is a plan, deploy, review kind of approach. So you rinse, learn, adapt, and repeat. We also have developed an online peer group learning exchange. So people who are in the middle of this, who have ideas, questions, things to share, can do it. So people can learn from each other. And there is available consulting support if and as desired, but our experience is it's not often desired because we've packaged up what you need. In the online tools and resources, we've worked hard to embody and employ the key shifts from evaluation as a tax number to one that's really actionable, too busy to improve, to high impact initiatives that are done as daily work. From just a look at income and profitability to EBITDA and risk management together. Not just tangible assets, but also intangible ones. From owners to stakeholders, to something you do way in the future, to an approach that gets you moving right away. Results and learning now, step at a time. And it takes you out of the quandary of feeling like you're running out of time, and it brings you confidence in the momentum born of success. So our clients get great results. The average has grown by 27%. The annual value gains run in the 15 to 35% range, averaging about 20. Because the initiatives are so well targeted by the valuation software, people get great returns on what they spend. And this has a proven record. This has been done in one way, shape, or form by lots of companies over time with very substantial impacts. So here's some next steps. How would you get started? Well, go hit my website, BillDunningtonConsulting.com, or send me an email, BillDunningtonConsulting@gmail.com, or go to the website and schedule a free initial consultation. I love to talk to owners. Tell me what you're up to, what you think you're challenged with, and we'll explore whether I can help, whether there's a fit and what it might look like. And right from there, you can take the discovery survey, and for $149, get a pretty good feel for what your business is worth and what it could be worth, and a couple of high impact things you might begin to do right away. So, any questions? Thank you for listening and thinking about this, and I look forward to hearing from you in some form of productive collaboration if that makes sense. Thank you. Good day.